Hi, I'm Greg Robinson for myphotographyshow.com and I'm here to create this image that was sent from Deborah. Thanks Deborah for sending this image in. So what we're going to do here is critique this image in three different stages. The first one is going to be the settings, obviously. The second part is going to be composition, and the third one will probably be about sharpness and color. Okay, let's dive right in there right now. So, as you can see here, Deborah, I put her information here. Deborah used 200 ISO. She was on a Canon, what was it, Rebel XSI. I'm sure that for Canon you can go down to 100 ISO, Deborah. Given the enormous sunlight that was coming from over there, that would have been a pretty good idea, bringing your ISO down to 100. Your shutter speed was at 1/125, so 1/125th of a second, sorry, and f/5.6 in aperture. Given that you would have used 100 ISO to get the best image quality you can get, your shutter speed would have been at 1/250th of a second at the same aperture, which would have enabled you to avoid camera shake and maybe a bit of motion blur if there were wind. I don't know if there was wind when you took the shot. So that's all I have to say about your settings. The second part would be about composition. Now there's one thing that really bothers me in this image, Deborah, and that is the lack of respect for the rule of thirds. Now I know you've got nothing against them, against the rule of thirds, but the problem is you're cutting your image in half here, as you can see. There isn't too much of a problem with that. I mean, you can do what you want. In photography, there are no rules, but if you want your image to be a little more harmonious and get a bit more, how can I say, a bit more of an equilibrium going on, then I would suggest using the rule of thirds. Now, what is the rule of thirds? For those of you who do not know, I often do this example. I'm going to create a vertical line of 33%, okay, and a second one of 66%. Now, this enables me to cut my image in two vertical thirds, well, 3/3, sorry, there and there. The second, third line will be a horizontal 33%, which is there, and another horizontal 66%. So now we've cut our image into 9 different points. The rule of thirds is basically either you cut your horizontal image on the top line or on the bottom line. Now, that is, when I say cut, I mean where you're going to place your horizon. Okay, your horizon line must be placed on one of these two lines. The only case in which you can avoid doing that would be if you're shooting on water, on calm water, where you've got a reflection going. You've got you've got two images going on basically, one on top and one at the bottom in the reflection. In that case, you can probably separate your composition in half. That's okay. There's still a little bit of harmony going on. Here, the image really is cut in half, and we want a winner. It's 50-50 here. Nobody's winning. It's like a tie. The match isn't interesting. We want something to happen. So what I'd suggest is cutting that image. I'm just showing you this on Photoshop so you understand what to do when you have to, the next time you're presented with a shot like this, okay? If you want, you can crop it, but it's always better to do this at the right time. Now I have to get rid of all my guides and just see if I manage to get that horizontal 66% line roughly where I wanted it. See, it's still a bit too high, just a little bit. So we'd have to cut it a bit more. Let's say something like that, and try it again. And there we've probably got our rule of thirds being respected, and therefore creating a more interesting image. There we go. See, you should have placed your horizon line there. So you would have gotten, if I come back to your original image, you would have gotten more tree in the image, okay? But the entire thing would have been more harmonious. It would have been more pleasing to the eye. Okay, that's something very, very important. Actually, for those of you who still don't know the rule of thirds, these intersecting points are also very important. If you have a unique subject in your image, I really suggest placing it in one of these points here. Okay, so you can draw an imaginary line in your viewfinder, just imagine it, and place your subject roughly there. There we go. In terms of sharpness, now I suppose you did this on purpose but the foreground is completely blurred. Now, that can look pretty good, as it does here. If you had wanted it perfectly sharp, then I would have suggested closing your aperture to f/22, okay? That would have brought your shutter speed way down, so if there were wind, that grass would have been swaying, so it would have been blurred anyway, in which case you would have to push your ISO up so that you can get a bit more speed. It just gets a little more complicated. But if you're in a situation where you want a landscape and everything from foreground to background to be perfectly sharp, f/22 is the way to go, okay? So there we go. I hope this critique helped you out, Deborah. I hope all you other viewers enjoyed the critique and you learned something here. Please feel free to send your images in for a critique, a free critique, on myphotographyshow.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We also have all sorts of things going on there. On YouTube, obviously, but mainly send your images in for a free critique on myphotographyshow.com. I hope you have fun. This is Greg Robinson saying see you soon.